with honor and distinction. It's come out since then that some of his fellow soldiers say he was a deserter. He may have wandered off the post there in Afghanistan. Did you misspeak? Did you get that wrong?
Jim, I realize there's been a lot of discussion and controversy around this, but what I was referring to is the fact that this was a young man who volunteered to serve his country in uniform at a time of war. That is itself a very honorable thing.
But honor and distinction.
Jim, really, I mean, this is a young man whose circumstances we are still going to learn about. He is, as all Americans, innocent until proven guilty.
I like the way she says, Jim, really, as if it's not a legitimate question. Welcome, Steve Malzberg, and it's time for the Malzberg panel. You know it, you love it. And joining us today is our friend, the former congressman from the state of Michigan, former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra, and John Gizzi, our Washington, D.C. Newsmax correspondent. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey,
hello,
nice to be with you, Steve.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so let's start with you, Congressman. You know, here again, Susan Rice had her chance, and she did a lot of interviews today from Normandy, and instead of saying, well, you know, maybe I was exuberant, maybe I overspoke, she's like, no, you know, he put the uniform on, so that means he served with honor. Now, I mean, for all we know, this guy could very well have been worse than a deserter, and she insists that he still served honorably.
Susan Rice has to stay off the Sunday morning TV show. She's got to actually do some of the research herself and stay away from the flacks who are giving her all the political spin. This information was well known within the Obama administration. The questions about his leaving his post and those types of things, you know, the intelligence analysis saying that, you know, he's participating in, you know, on the firing range, target practice with AK-47s. You know, and not only did he say he served with honor and distinction, she also said it was an extraordinary day for America. An extraordinary day for America is the SEALs going in and rescuing him, killing a bunch of Taliban and coming out unscathed. Trading 5 Taliban senior military officials for one American soldier is not an extraordinary day for America.
John, what about the fact that, you know, when she did it with Benghazi, she was the UN ambassador, she was a fill-in for Hillary Clinton, and we know she got talking points. Now she's national security director or advisor, and she made these remarks on the Sunday shows, and today, when asked about it, she made it even worse.
Yeah, she certainly did. And remember something, she is in a position where she cannot be hauled in front of congressional committees, as Congressman Hoekstra well knows. She serves at the pleasure of the president within his executive office. In fact, down the hall from the president's Oval Office in the West Wing. And it is not as easy to get her as if she were in a position where she had achieved Senate confirmation. One other thing I'd add, I was at a press breakfast this morning with John Podesta, counselor to President Obama, and he discussed this. He stands by the administration's story that they determined that the 5 Gitmo inmates were no longer of any danger, or not as dangerous as they were when they came in, and they also determined the president felt no matter what, he was committed to bringing every man home who had served overseas and had been captured, that we would leave no one left on the battlefield. That's going to be the administration's line for some time now.
Congressman, yet we know that military, intelligence, they all told Obama, don't release these men. And in fact, you're going to hear in this show a little bit later on from Johnny Spann. He's the father of Johnny Mike Spann, who was the first casualty in Afghanistan during that prison break. And he believes that 2 of those men who broke out of prison, he knows for a fact, have now been released. They were caught by us, put in Gitmo. They've now been released by Obama. And he says that 2 of those men have his son's blood on their hands.
He may be right on that. I don't know the specifics there, but the bottom line is the people that we had previously released from Gitmo, we determined that they were lower risk to returning to the battlefield. We know with certainty that at least 30% of those people have made it back to the battlefield It's not that the other 70% haven't made it back there. We just can't confirm exactly where they are. So these are high-risk people. They are going to be back on the battlefield. John Podesta also said, hey, you know, we've got the technical means to follow these guys in gutter, and we're going to be able to follow them, you know, with a wink and a nod. You know, we know how to do this. Absolutely baloney. These guys can get lost in 24 hours, in 48 hours. They can get lost in gutter because the gutter government may not facilitate it, but they ain't going to watch them very closely. The only reason these people will still be in gutter in a year is because you know, because they don't want to make the gutter government look bad. But if they wanted to be gone tomorrow, they could ditch us and the government there in a heartbeat.
I would believe that's absolutely true. John, are we really supposed to believe that the administration didn't predict this? They didn't know this outrage would occur on so many levels, whether it's what Bergdahl had done or the people being released. I mean, they just live in their own little bubble, or did Obama know this and could not care less?
Well, John Podesta pretty much said the latter, or came very close to it, I should say. He said that the president knew there was a risk in this, but his determination to go ahead and bring this young man home rather than leave him on the battlefield was what drove him to take the action as he did. And Mr. Podesta insisted the president never thought of the political consequences. You can read into that whatever you want, but remember, this is a president who doesn't have to face the voters in any election anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. All right, and we've heard the term swift boating being used by those on the left, so some of them are on the side of Obama on this. All right, when we come back, we have a lot of other things to discuss, gentlemen. The numbers out today on jobs created, and you know, the media presenting it that, oh my goodness, all the jobs that were lost during the recession are back. Well, you know, it's the slowest recovery ever from a recession. And the jobs that have been regained, if you will, are not keeping up with the new people in the workforce. All right, we'll come back, talk about all of that and more right here. And if you want to weigh in on any of these stories, ladies and gentlemen, here's how you do it.
Federal and state